Welcome to another episode of the Muffed Punt podcast. My name is Brandon, and tonight we have the entire crew here. What is up, gentlemen? I am super happy to have you here. Are you guys ready to go through our NFC draft board?
At this point, I'm just happy I get to cuddle with Ralph through the internet. I just can't stroke his hair. I'm just in such a good place tonight.
I don't know how to take that.
Nobody does.
We're super happy to have you back, Ralph. I know that you were out a little busy with the work and whatnot, but we are happy to have you here, bud. So welcome back to the podcast.
Thanks, man. It's good to be here.
Absolutely. So tonight is going to be a great night. We're going to work our way through the NFC, the first round for the ones who have them. And for ones who don't, we'll do some little bit of predictions as well. We're working our way through kind of our second episode with any kind of video elements. In the video last week, if you guys missed it, we went through the top 5 quarterbacks in the draft, complete with highlights. And game film that we actually put together for you. So if you haven't seen that, go back and check it out. Make sure you like it. Make sure you guys subscribe. We're going to keep rocking and rolling with this to the best of our abilities. This is ultimately us working towards kind of a whole new podcast element where we're eventually going to be all video. Paul and I want to work towards where we can like break down drives and really have an awesome time with this and really get in depth with the whole football thing. So I know I'm super excited. I'm going to get started with my picks through my division, which is the NFC South. Terry's going to cover the NFC East. Paul, which one do you have, bud?
Nate and I actually split the divisions in half. So we each took 2 from the North and 2 from the West.
That's hilarious because Terry and I talked about doing that, and then we were like, nope, keep it in the division. I love that we did it differently. That's awesome. So
yeah, ours is better than yours.
Yeah, of course you feel that way. So
Ralph, my division is the worst of all, so stop.
Ralph, you're going to be the tiebreaker.
Look, this isn't good parent, bad parent here. I'm not.
No. That's exactly what this is. We've been misbehaving while you've been gone. It's time for Ralph to show up with and crack the whip as to who's doing it better.
You want me to cuddle you? You want me to crack the whip? I'm really getting scared about you, Paul.
I missed you, okay? I missed you. It's all out of love or hate. I don't know which one. I had bad parenting. I don't have good coping skills.
Yeah, you can't bring facts and logic into this. It won't go anywhere. All right, so first up, NFC South. I started off with the Falcons with the 4th overall pick. I don't think it'd be too far to imagine that with the Falcons, we could see them possibly trading this pick. If they don't trade the pick, though, which hasn't happened as of yet, but I've seen many scenarios where it could go to many different teams. I've seen some people say the Cowboys trade up. I've seen other people say that the Dolphins are going to trade up. Like, it's crazy. I think if they do stay there, it's likely they're going to take Micah Parsons. Falcons, for me, the reason I feel this way is because they were 19th in the league last year in pressure. In 2018 and 2019, they were 24th, and in 2017, they were 16th. Their best edge rusher was Dante Fowler, and last year, Pro Football Focus had him as the 8th worst edge rusher out of the 124 that qualified. In 2020, they gave up an average of 104 yards a game rushing to their opponents. In 2019, they gave up 110 average yards rushing per game. They gave up the most passing yards against the entire league last year with 4,697 yards against. They gave up the 4th most yards, period, of any team last year with 6,374 yards against. So you're going to see a bit of that in the clip of us just going through some of them having a not so great time when it comes to the pass rush. One of the great things I like about Micah Parsons, you're going to see in the clip, he's number 11 from Penn State. If you watch the clip, this guy has what they need. This dude can ball, he can rush. He has no problem getting to the quarterback and making plays. He does a fantastic job with knocking the ball out of the hands of the QB or anybody that he can basically get his hands in on. I think Micah Parsons from Penn State would be a great pick for them. What do you guys think? I know Paul has his own argument for this, which we're going to get to in a second, but do you guys feel like Micah Parsons would be a good fit for the Falcons?
I mean, after listening to those stats, yeah, I think he'd be great. Personally, I think they're going to go quarterback and try to find somebody to sit behind Matt Ryan for a year, maybe 2. and then have the heir apparent be that guy.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Paul was kind of going with. So Paul, when him and I were talking about it, he saw them, if they did stick with the number 4 overall pick, possibly going with Justin Fields. So tell everybody why, Paul.
Justin Fields, he's the hometown kid. He went to high school not too far from Atlanta. He was in the same quarterback class in the same state as Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence isn't going to be around. I think that Justin Fields is always the bridesmaid, never the bride. He lost the starting job to Jake Fromm, moved on as we talked about last week. I don't think that Atlanta will be able to not take the hometown kid who's got potential here. We were talking, and they did add some years to Matt Ryan's contract, but this is the last year. He has any guaranteed money left. I think that they keep Matt Ryan around. This is going to be his last year. They have Justin sit, which is good because he needs time to marinate, as we discussed last week.
Better let that one marinate.
You got a problem with animal lovers. You got a problem with me, and I suggest you let that one marinate.
I'm gonna let that one marinate a little bit. The only possible issue that I could see here is Matt Ryan and Justin Fields do not play the same game at all. So they better have a really good quarterback coach in place to kind of sit Justin and teach him how to play the game at this level. Because I mean, let's be honest, he doesn't know how to play it at the collegiate level. So how's he going to do it in the NFL?
Yeah, I think for me, I mostly see the Falcons likely trading away this pick. It'll be interesting to see if they do stick with the pick, where they end up going with it.
I think that the Cowboys that just seems really dumb. You know how much they'd have to give up in order to trade up this high and go after Pitts?
Yeah, story is Jerry loves Pitts.
Jones?
They'd have to give up a Herschel-like quantity of picks in order to move up in this draft to get in the top 4, and you're going to do it for a position player. I don't think the Cowboys can do that because they're already maxed out on paying quarterback, running back, wide receiver. They're going to get a tight end, wide receiver hybrid who is if they draft him as a tight end, he is screwed monetarily the same way that Jimmy Graham was, because he's going to get franchised as a tight end. He's going to get paid as a tight end, no matter how much he lines up at wide receiver. So good luck to him. If the Cowboys move, that's such a Cowboys thing to do, or an Eagles thing to do. I hope that happens. That would really make my draft night.
Oh, I don't want to step too much on Terry's thunder because he's going to be getting into the Cowboys in a little bit, but I did hear about them possibly scenarios where they would trade down as well. So that we could maybe get into that in a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of scenarios for them, but you have been hearing the chatter about them being really infatuated with Pitts. But to me, that's just, you're going to have to give up so much, and then you're still leaving your defense wide open. So it would just be a stupid move. So go ahead and do it.
I love the Cowboys loving this podcast. It's amazing.
Where are they slotted right now, Cowboys? Where are they? What's their pick?
They're at 10.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. You're right. They'll have to mortgage a lot to get there. But we all saw what Howie did back when they drafted Wentz number 2. I mean, he was creative to get there, and it's not out of the realm of possibility, and it's not out of the realm of stupid when it comes to Cowboys moves. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they tried it.
And frankly, if they got Pitts, their offense would be instantly probably the top offense in the NFC. But their defense is still ranked at the bottom, so they better outscore everybody. We'll see.
So the next one that I had up on the list is the Carolina Panthers. They have the 8th pick overall in the draft. Last year, they drafted Derek Brown. He had 16 games played, 21 solo tackles, 2 sacks, 13 combos. I feel like Carolina's biggest need in this draft is going to be offensive line, and I feel like they have the ability with the 8th overall pick to pretty much have their pick of the offensive lineman that might be available. I know we have some talk about that maybe them going a little bit earlier, but there's 3 guys in this draft that I really, really like. One of the things with Carolina, their big need, and you're going to see this throughout the video here, is 4 of their offensive linemen are going to be basically unrestricted free agents soon. They can't afford to bring them all back. They have Taylor Morton and Russell Okung. The clip I chose basically to demonstrate my point is the Panthers versus the Saints in week 7 of last year. The Saints won 27-24. You'll see basically several key moments in the game, a few 3rd and 4th downs that just basically completely went to hell for the Panthers because they couldn't keep the Saints rush off of them. I feel like for the Panthers, if I was them, I'd be looking at Penei Sewell or Rashawn Slater, depending on if Sewell goes earlier on in the draft. Penei is what you'll see in the highlight clip here. Panay has the ability to be an absolute monster on the line. As far as just like physical attributes, this guy has pretty much every single one of them. He's huge. He's mean. He's explosive. He's fast. He has great footwork. He can get out on the second level blocking. This dude loves to absolutely lay people out. And that's one of my favorite things to see with offensive linemen. He does not care how small the people are that he's hitting either. He's laying that dude out on the turf. One of the clips you'll keep an eye out, you'll see he's number 58 on the left side. He's the tackle. Super raw talent, just absolute physicality. This dude's a beast. But I just feel like he's still going to have some fundamentals that he needs to work on. But just the ceiling on this guy is just insane. So you'll definitely see that in the clip. What did you guys think of Panay Sewell?
I personally think he's the best tackle in the draft. If he slides that far down to them, they should thank God for that. Actually, Darnold should thank God for that, because after everything he's gone through, he definitely wants someone protecting him. But everything I've seen on this guy, he's the total package. And I believe he sat out this past season, but everything that I've seen from him in the past has just been unbelievable. He's like almost like a prototype left tackle in the NFL. So I think that would be a great fit.
Yeah, I think it's probably more likely Rashawn Slater will be there. I don't want to steal your thunder, though, because we're going to talk about him a little bit later. But I feel like Panay is definitely the absolute best one as far as ceiling goes out of all the guys that I've seen tackle-wise in the draft.
I think that it's a good pick. I'm very interested to see how taking a season off as a college athlete going into the NFL draft is going to go. Historically, it hasn't been that great because you're just working out and then you're coming in and you're coming to an entire new level of talent, speed. The biggest jump that you have when you're going in between levels is just the raw speed. In the NFL, you've got defensive ends that are as fast as running backs in college. So it's just crazy. I think he is the most talented one. Having said that, it might take a little while to catch up.
Next up, we have the Saints on the board. They are, for myself, in the NFC South. They are drafting 28th overall. I would say for myself, if I was the Saints, I would either go defensive lineman or linebacker. Quan Alexander is likely going to be questionable for the Saints coming off a torn Achilles. Alex Anzalone, or however you pronounce the guy's last name, is going to be headed to Detroit. And Demario Davis is a beast, but he can do everything. My absolute fantasy pick for them would be Kwity Paye, but I highly doubt he'll be available there. So I would say Zaven Collins from Tulsa. I'm going to show a quick clip of Kwity Paye anyway, because this dude's an absolute beast. You're going to see him as number 19 from Michigan. He's not the biggest defensive lineman that you're going to see, but the guy is absolutely fast and he loves to hit people. I might also throw in his 3-cone drill from Pro Football Focus, because good Lord, I never knew a big man who was 6'3" could move that fast. He was the team captain, and he named him as one of the hardest working players of the program, and he only had 20 starts in college, but I think the sky's the limit for this guy for sure. But the pick that I think that they're actually going to go with, Zaven Collins, 6'5", 259, out of Tulsa. He was a quarterback and an all-state defender in high school. He won awards galore. He's a team-oriented defender. He's not afraid to plug gaps when needed. He can blitz. He can cover downfield. He's got hands. He's going to get some interceptions for sure. Like in the clip that I'm going to show you guys, this guy has multiple ball hawking interceptions. He's also very explosive as far as he's got a high motor. This guy's all over the field in the highlights. He's even pretty good against the run. You'll see him number 23 in the highlights, linebacker from Tulsa. He's also good at rushing off the edge, which is what I feel like the Saints have been lacking for a little while. He did have a pick six in double overtime against Tulane to win the game. So you'll, again, enjoy the interceptions on the clip for Zaven Collins and Kwity Paye with the hits. Do you guys have any comments on these two?
For one of my picks, I actually have Kwity Paye out of Michigan. Dude is amazing. Yeah, he's an absolute monster. He made a promise to his mom in high school. He's like, hey, if you can pay for me to go to high school, I will go to college for free and I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. And he's got the work ethic. Good for him. He's going to make that come true and buy mama a house. So I love when you get athletes like that. So I think that there's a lot of talent there.
Yeah, for sure. He definitely pops off the highlights.
Yeah, and you gotta love a guy with that kind of like freak athleticism that's also a hard worker and has like a ridiculous motor. I feel like that's probably a big character trait for a lot of teams. Everything I've saw on him, he's a beast. Most of the rankings had him as the top rusher or top overall edge guy. There was like a couple other guys that maybe he's like 2 or 1, but that would be a really good pick for them.
Yeah, that's why I think it's definitely more likely to see Zaven Collins go there. I think he is definitely going to be, he's equally as much of a disruptor on the defensive side of the ball. I very much enjoyed watching his highlights. I know probably Tulsa doesn't get so much love, but that dude can ball. I think he'll do well for himself in the NFL.
Hey, Brandon, what was that kid's name again?
Quiddy Pay.
I'll be honest, I know nothing about him, so I'll be interested to see, your description of his play and put eyes on it myself.
If you look at the highlights, because I've got some highlights on him too. He took up most of the highlight time for the team I've got him going. I mean, he looks like a Jadeveon Clowney that practices. So I hope that he becomes the freak athlete that he has the potential to be.
Okay, so the last one on my list for the NFC South was the Bucs, 32nd overall pick, obviously. So I asked myself, what do you get the man that has everything? Because I'm like, I really don't know what you get the guy that has more weapons than anyone else in the NFL. And I was like, you know what you get that man? You get that man time.
Punter.
So in the clip that I selected for this one, I'm going to take you guys back to week 5 versus the Bears. You're going to see Khalil Mack just absolutely go ham and beat the brakes off of both of the Bucs tackles. At one point, you even see Khalil Mack judo throw one of the tackles to the ground. He gets Tom Brady so much in this game that you see how frustrated Tom Brady is on his face in the last clip. I had an absolute ball making this for you guys, and so I hope you enjoyed as much as I did making it, but you'll see Khalil Mack just absolutely go ham. My pick for the Bucs is Tevin Jenkins out of OSU. He's 6'6", 320 pounds of just pure attitude. This guy absolutely loves to finish the play. What I mean by that is he loves driving people into the turf. I don't even need to take much time. I'm showing you 4 highlights. You'll see him number 73 at right tackle. Just watch this dude stuffing people into the earth. And he just does this amazing job of this. He has great hands, great footwork. I think if they allowed him with Tristan Wirfs to kind of roll the opposite side, I think those two could grow into just being some of the best tackles in the league. But for me, Tevin Jenkins, it was hard for me between him and Rashawn Slater as to how I was going to rank them. And for Panay, I think is 1. I think you could have different reasons going Tevin or Rashawn for 2, but probably I would go Rashawn 2 and then Tevin 3. But that for me, I felt like would be the best pick for the Bucs.
He was as high as 3 on some of the rankings that I saw. And I mean, I didn't see him any lower than 5. And this is a pretty strong draft for offensive tackles. At least the first 5 guys seem to have pretty high ceilings. So I mean, I can completely agree with you. Just keep Tom Brady upright, get him a big nasty dude to hold off the pass rush, and they can make another run. So it would be a really good pick, and I'm sure he'll probably have some input on that one as well.
Yeah, I did see that the Bucs added Giovanni Bernard today, and obviously not like a huge name, but I think somebody that gives you that James White feel of being able to catch the ball out of the backfield. So just having the ability of getting them a better line so they can have a better run game, I think all of that helps Tom in the long run.
I don't think they really got him for the run game. More like you're saying the James White catch the ball out of the backfield.
I was just saying like them having a run game in general.
That's going to be a deadly backfield when you got Jones, Fournette, and now you've got Giovanni Bernard, who, I mean, he's a good athlete, and he'll be a nice little veteran pickup there.
Yeah, he's very underrated. He's always like on the fringe of the fantasy football radar every year because he's like such a versatile guy and he always seems to get starting time. But you're right. They'll have a nice little 3-headed monster there with your kind of like quickness guy, your power guy, and then your do-it-all guy in Jones. So I think that's gonna be a good fit there.
Yeah, definitely. So we're going to work our way now through the NFC East. We're going to be turning things over to Terry. I'm going to help Terry out just a little bit because I gathered some highlights for him. So Terry, I'll let you take things in the order that you wish. I'll let people know what the highlights are going to be that they'll see behind what you're talking about.
All right, cool. Thanks, Brandon. So the first team that I'm going to spot, I'm doing the NFC East, by the way. A lot of the teams are picking pretty high. Even the one playoff team has a pretty high pick. But I'm going to start off with the Giants. They finished last year 6-10. They're picking 11th overall, sandwiched in between the Cowboys and the Eagles. And thinking about the top needs for them, I saw a lot of different things, but I think the two that really kind of stood out to me were offensive line and edge rush. I gave the edge to the top need to offensive line, specifically tackle. One stat that I saw, all the teams in the NFC East were pretty bad in this regard, but they averaged about 3 quarterback sacks a game. I feel like, Daniel Jones, to me, he's not very good. So you got to give him as much time as possible. So I think the projected pick that I have there for them is Rashawn Slater out of Northwestern. And, most of the boards, he's probably the second or third option as far as tackles are going in this draft. The reason that I kind of liked him for the Giants is because of a couple of things. I think he's got good size for a right tackle. He also could potentially play guard. He was at 6'3", 305. From everything that I saw from him, I mean, he looked pretty impressive to me. He had very quick feet. I saw a couple of highlights where he handled Chase Young pretty well, which is, no easy task. That guy's ridiculous.
The highlights that I got for you guys is Rashawn Slater beating the brakes off of Chase Young. So you're going to see that in this podcast. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. Yeah, man, that's what sold me. That's all I needed. I got 4 clips that you guys will see of Chase Young against Rashawn Slater. It's all you need to see. Just keep in mind, he basically erased Chase Young from that game.
Yeah, I mean, he was incredible against him. So just watching those highlights alone should know that this guy should be able to hold his own against the best pass rushers and ends in the league. Plus I think for the Giants, they definitely need more help on the offensive line. I saw a lot of things out there too for them where they said edge. So, a couple of guys that could potentially go, and this is all projected if they stay at 11, was Kwity Paye. Jalen Phillips was another guy, because they have a lot of good run stopping defensive guys, but not, no one that really is great at getting to the quarterback. A couple other people had them having them looking at a corner. I just don't see it with them having Bradbury, who played really well last year, and then them picking up Adoree Jackson. It doesn't make sense to me than going and getting another corner. It is a passing league, so I guess you can never say never. I just feel like the offensive line for them would be really good thing for Daniel Jones. He needs the time. Plus, he's a turnover machine when he gets hit. So the more time you can give him to get the ball out, the less chances there are that he's going to get hit for a sack, fumble, or something like that. So that's why I really like this guy. Plus, he had some nastiness in some of the clips that I saw that I really liked. So what do the rest of you guys think about the Giants?
So in the Giants clip I got for you, Terry, you're going to see the Giants versus the Ravens in the first play. You're going to see a lot of motion and just a run getting stuffed. In the second one I cut to the Eagles, showing multiple times of them basically chasing Daniel Jones out of the pocket. And then my absolute favorite play that I wrapped up with is Daniel Jones getting sacked by basically every single member of the defensive line of the Eagles. So I just to basically illustrate your points there. And with Rashawn Slater, I vehemently agree with everything you said. What did you think, Paul?
I really like the pick here, not just for Daniel Jones, because, maybe the Giants will get lucky and Daniel Jones will be injured and their backup will come in. But, you got Saquon coming off 2 injury-shortened seasons, and when he's healthy, he looks good, but he gets another season-ending injury. That's a flop when you get 3 of those that quickly. So I hope Saquon stays healthy this year, and getting him somebody to block, I think that's a big help.
Yeah, I really would love to see him come back and show form for sure. It's always sad to see that's 2 different times. And I don't know if that's like overuse or lack of a line. Like, what do you think it's like the offensive scheme that they run? What do you think it is that leads to him being injured so often?
I think it's kind of a mix. I think that they're a terrible team, so I think you got him trying to play hero ball a little bit. So he's extending plays, or maybe he should get down or get out of bounds just to try to make something happen, because right now he's the only player with any skill on that offense.
And that's one of the things I liked about the Rashawn Slater pick too, is because that dude is a great run blocker as well. He loves to get down to the second level and lay out some hits. So I saw that a lot. Did you see the things like that as well, Terry?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he's, Saquon's going to love this guy for sure. And to Paul's point with Saquon, I just think it's the way that he plays the game. I mean, he plays kind of all out, like with a little bit of a reckless abandon in a way, which sometimes isn't always good for your health. But I think this guy will definitely open up some big holes for him to make some home run type of runs and plays. So I think it's kind of a win-win all around for them, because it's going to help them in both the passing and the run game. So I think this is, I mean, whether it's Rashawn Slater or not, I'm almost certain that they're going to take whoever the top tackle is. I just don't see them with all the receivers they got. There was some projections saying they might take a Waddle or someone like that. I just think they put too much money into the wide receiver position and free agency. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. And then their defenses was a lot better last year than I think they got credit for. I think they were in the top 15 on total defense. So I think they could wait on some of those other positions. And, the best way is to build on the lines. So that's where I think they should go. I hope they don't, but I think that would be the smart play there. So I also think that the Giants are going to stay put here. I don't think there's any possibility that they trade up or down. I think the tackle's going to fall to them one way or the other. All right. So let's see here. All right. So next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys are picking 10th overall, finished 6-10 last year.
Are they picking 10th overall?
Well,
maybe.
Possibly moving up or moving back. I guess it depends on how Jerry Jones feels the day of the draft, how much he is in love with Kyle Pitts and really wants to, mortgage the future for this guy to move up and trade with the Falcons, which I definitely think it's a possibility. I would never put anything past that guy. He loves guys that are, that have that kind of the freak athleticism and rare kind of skill set. So if they were to make that move, I personally think it would be very stupid, because they're going to have to give up so much to move up there. But with that said, I hope they do, and then I hope he's a bust. So in the scenario I have them staying put. Obviously, they have a lot of issues on defense. They were ranked 28th overall last year in total team defense. They were also 31st against the run, which I was surprised. I still think that their passing game is a big issue, or their passing defense, I should say, is a big issue. They have to take a cornerback. Everything that I see, they're locked in on Patrick Surtain, the second out of Alabama.
Yeah, and so for this one, for the Cowboys clip, I'm going to show you guys the Cowboys versus the Vikings, and basically how sweet it is to watch Kirk Cousins carve up that Dallas defense. Most of the plays that you're going to see is Awuzie getting burned by Thielen or by Jefferson. You can take your pick. Finally, the clips are going to wrap up with a play that I just absolutely couldn't resist, which I have to admit the play didn't count, but for highlight purposes, it was amazing. It's Dallas getting burnt by a fake punt. So you get to see all the favorite things there, as far as that was probably my absolute favorite clip to make, behind Tom Brady getting sacked several times over, but that's a pretty fun compilation. As far as the Patrick Surtain clip I got for you, and one of the things that you're going to see, this guy is a cover corner. He hits hard, does a great job in open field tackles. He can be absolutely dangerous when sent on the blitz. He does a great job of getting his hands up to combat the ball. So you're going to see all those things in the highlights.
Yeah, I mean, he's big. He's 6'2", 202, which is a pretty good size for a corner. He's super physical. He's got huge upside, and obviously has the bloodlines with his dad being such a great NFL player. He really mugs guys at the line, which is a lot of his game, but he can still run and cover with them. He's not as speedy as some of the other guys that I've seen, but he's definitely smooth as far as, like hip transitions and kind of running the routes with the, for the receiver. So, and he definitely gets his head back around and locates the ball pretty well. So, I really like him, and frankly, I was in my Eagles stuff was looking at him too. But I everything I've heard is that the Cowboys really like this guy. Obviously, without the recent news of them being super infatuated with Pitts, this guy has seemingly been the pick for them that I've seen on so many different, mock drafts. And then as far as like his ranking, he's as high as 1 on the corner. He's mostly 1 or 2 on the cornerback draft board. So this would definitely be a huge improvement for them in the secondary, which they desperately need, and would hopefully get the ball back to their offense. Let Dak get a chance to throw the ball downfield without having to outscore everybody every time. So I like this guy for them. I think it's kind of a perfect fit. What do the rest of you guys think about Surtain?
I've got some clips for him coming somewhere else, because I'm really hoping that the Cowboys trade up for Pitts, because that would just be the perfect Cowboys thing to do. But I love this kid. He comes up, he'll hit you. He's got good coverage skills. He's very smooth, not the fastest guy, doesn't have the highest vertical, but he knows the game, and he can read really, really well. Great route runner, and he's the opposite of Deion Sanders, where Deion Sanders was a great cover guy and wouldn't hit you. This guy does everything the opposite way. He will come up and just smash you in the face, and I love when corners will do that. So I really hope he doesn't go to the Cowboys, because I want him to have a relatively successful career, and I will not cheer for him on the Cowboys.
Do you think that it seems to me when I watched his highlights that down the field he gets pretty handsy with guys? What did you guys think about that?
Yeah, but that's the game in college, is you're allowed to get really handsy as long as you get your head around and look for the ball. So he's playing within the scope of the rules. His game is going to have to adjust at the next level, but he plays right within the frame of the rules for college. And I think that he's able to locate the ball really well. If he didn't get his head around, he would have had a lot of pass interference penalties. I'll tell you that. But he knows to look for the ball. So that's why I think he's going to be so good. I see some like a young Richard Sherman as a possibility out of this guy.
A young, more talented Richard Sherman. Yeah.
Yeah, young, more talented, hopefully less mouthy.
Yeah.
But I've got high hopes for him. He did great things at Alabama.
Yeah, and I think he's got a little bit better speed than Richard Sherman too. But it's not like I wouldn't say he's got elite speed, but his cover skills are ridiculous. I really think he's the pick for them. I don't think all this trading up thing is going to ever come to be. But I also had a couple of other thoughts on it here too, because they do have quite a few needs. So there was also some other players. Obviously, if for some reason Surtain's gone, I had Horn or Farley. Caleb Farley as one of the other potential picks for them. I could also see them, like the guy like we had talked about earlier, Kwity Paye. They would potentially have the opportunity to get the top edge rusher. I know they're moving back to the 4-3. So there's another guy that kind of was on the radar that I think, because he's also his freakishness would be something I think that Jerry would like. And then I also think they definitely need. They could also use some O-line depth, particularly a tackle. I know Tyrion Smith is getting up there in age a little bit, so I could also see them maybe if he's gone, then they sneak one of the top tackles off the board early, and then have that player as insurance in case Tyrion Smith, gets hurt or something. Something like that throughout the season.
I saw some weird scenarios earlier of people saying of them possibly trading down in the draft so they could trade back in like later into the first round, maybe multiple times to get like 2 defensive guys before the end of the first round, because there's so many defensive guys in this draft. I think that seems pretty far-fetched.
I think it's smart. I don't think that the Jones family is smart enough to do it.
I think that they're going to fall in love with one of those 2 guys. But if they did move down and the Eagles had a chance to get Surtain, I would be thrilled.
No,
Yeah. Well, I'll get to it. I'll get to it in a few minutes, but yeah, I'd be pretty happy about that too.
Well,
Yeah.
guys, I could see the Giants possibly trading down. If they trade down and somebody comes up in front of the Cowboys and grabs somebody that maybe the Cowboys were targeting, you could then see the Cowboys, trade out as well. I've heard a lot of talk about the Eagles possibly trading down, kind of the similar situation, Brandon, what you just described for Dallas, and that you trade down and then hope to get back into the late first round to grab somebody kind of at the end of the first round there. But I don't want to step on Terry's toes for the Eagles here. But as far as the Cowboys, they're all about the splash, whether it's their stadium or it's the glitz, it's the glamour, it's the Cowboys, it's Jerry Jones, it's prime time, it's all this stuff. So everything in that statement tells me, and everything in my understanding of how the Cowboys run their franchise right now, is that they're going for the splash pick, and Surtain seems like that pick, and it just seems to fit. Now, if he's there, and if somebody doesn't jump in front of the Cowboys to maybe grab him, we've all seen in every draft there's somebody that comes out of nowhere and just jumps the field, somebody you're not expecting, and could be interdivision. Or it could be somebody, not even in the conference coming up and trying to take a higher pick. So Surtain surely seems like the splash pick there for the Cowboys.
I think that mid-round or mid-first round, so I mean like 10 to 20, I think there's a lot of value that you can get, because I think that 5 quarterbacks are going in there. So I think you're going to have some talent falling to you that you might not normally have. So I can understand trying to trade out of the top 5, maybe the top 10, but if you have a pick somewhere between 10 and 25, I would not trade that, because I think that there's a lot of value to be had here.
I completely agree as well. I think that this is a pretty underrated draft. I think it's deep at a lot of positions, but I agree that probably like 10 to 25 range, there's so much value there for so many teams. So it may make sense to move back in a lot of cases, because you're going to pick up an extra pick, and then it gives you the option if you want to try and trade back in to the late first round, early second round for another additional guy that might be falling down the board.
Have we ever had that many quarterbacks go like 1, 2, 3, 4 potentially?
I don't think they'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, but I think that you could see 5 go in the top 15 or 20.
I think you're going to see 5 go in possibly the top 10. Because I think there's going to be people that trade in to the top 10 to try and get that 4th or 5th guy.
Yeah, there's too much hype that someone's going to trade up. I would bet good money that 5 will be taken in the top 10. I don't think they're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, like most people are thinking, but 5 in the top 10 seems pretty accurate with how everybody's playing the cards right now.
Okay, you said you'd bet good money. What's good money? What are we betting? Because I don't think there's 5 in the top 10.
Paul's got an itch. He's got to scratch it.
Yeah. I don't know, like $20 and a couple drinks.
All right, sounds good.
A case
is a due. Oh my god!
I don't think you have any idea how much I hope that there are 5 quarterbacks now taken in the first 11 picks. Like, there's probably never been anything I've wanted more in my life.
I would cry so hard that I would only give me $20.
But if that really does happen, I really do feel like that's going to put talent a little bit further down in that, like you said, that 10 through 20 range that's just not normally going to be there.
Yeah, that's why I think that it's going to happen.
Moving on to the next team here, the Washington football team finished 7-9 last year. Obviously won the worst division in football, picking at 19, which is still pretty good for winning your division. And looking at their team, their defense is stacked. They're filled with first round defensive talent. So I kind of think that they stay away from the defense. I think they need to replace Trent Williams. I think that's probably their biggest need, and that's why I picked offensive line, specifically left tackle, as their top need overall. They also, along with the Eagles, the Cowboys, and the Giants, all gave up 3 sacks per game on average. So, they've got Fitzpatrick in there who, obviously he's not the future, but you want to have.
You don't know that.
Come on now. Well, I also think that it's not completely out of the question that they are a team that could move up into the top 10 and try and sneak the fourth or the fifth quarterback out there this year. It's not out of the realm of possibilities. I don't think it's going to happen.
I think the only way that happens is if Dan Snyder gets the itch for another Ohio State guy. But I think that's the only way that happens.
I don't think he's going to after the way Haskins worked out.
You're right, because he learned so quickly from his lessons historically.
I was just going to say, but like Haskins and Trey Lance are like the prototype guys that Ron Rivera loves. So let's at least put that out there, because I think that he's got a little bit of influence, whether, Daniel Snyder or not. I think that they've got a lot of faith in him. So, and he seems to like those bigger athletic quarterbacks, so that's why I felt like it's a possibility, although I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, just to go to Terry's point here, the Washington football team gave up 50 sacks last year. They lost over 331 yards on those sacks over the entire season. So you're going to see a little bit of a sack compilation there for the Washington football team. Who was your pick for them, Terry?
So the pick I had for them was Christian Darrisaw, left tackle from Virginia Tech.
Hey, what did you really like about Darrisaw? I was a little surprised with this pick, so I'm kind of curious where you're going to go with it.
I mean, I think he's got good size. I think he's maybe a little bit light for a tackle, but he's got the frame. I think that he can put on a little bit more weight if he has to. He's 6'5", 314. When I like just what I could see on this guy, I feel like he's an all-around, well-balanced left tackle. I feel like he's super athletic, and he's got quick feet, which is exactly what you're looking for a good pass blocking left tackle. He gets into his drop really quick. His kickback. He's back in pass protection very quick off the ball. And then he's definitely a super solid run blocker as well. I mean, he gets a good base on him. Usually stays pretty patient and square on the guy. I just think this guy he definitely has a very high ceiling with all of his athletic ability. I think if he can get, if he the right offensive line coach under him, I think he potentially could be the best left tackle in this draft.
I like the pick, and I think it's good. I don't think he's going to be the best one.
That's a bold statement.
Yeah.
Potential.
We'll see how it plays out.
I just think he's too far in the draft. The best offensive tackle's never taken 19th overall. That would be really surprising to me.
No, I mean, then that's certainly fair. I mean, and personally, I think that Sewell is hands down the best guy right now from what you can see. But I definitely think he has some traits that really I think would transition well to the NFL. And I think that, with left tackles, you're looking for guys with good feet and technique. I just think that he can have it, that he has it, but I think he still needs to grow a little bit before I think he reaches his potential. So I definitely think he would be a really solid pick for them. Obviously they need protection on the line.
So for me, when I put together the clip for Christian Darrisaw, you're going to see him on the screen at number 77. So you can keep your eye on the left side of the line there. I feel like this guy suffers from coming out in the same draft as Sewell and Rayshon Slater and Tevin Jenkins, because when I watched his film, I told Paul, it kind of put me to sleep. He seemed like the best guy on a bad offensive line. To me, when you watch Sewell and Tevin Jenkins finish the play, I never really saw that with Christian Darrisaw. To me, it seemed like he put in the bare minimum effort that he needed to. His actual mechanics were there, like you said, and the kickback and all that, great. But when you watch the clip that I put together, you're going to just see as soon as the play is done, this dude, there's times where I felt like he's looking around trying to figure out where he should be. There's times where I feel like his quarterback getting annihilated and he's just standing there watching the dude get decked. Like, I was just like, I feel like you're right. If he got the right coach, that maybe they could get some more tenacity in him. Watching these other guys in the draft, to me, he had like the least impressive tape.
Yeah, I completely agree that he doesn't have the nastiness that I saw from Sewell or Slater. That's for sure. But the other thing is that I think it, like in a lot of the clips where it kind of looked easy to him, is because he was going against maybe subpar rushers on the other side. So maybe it was a little easier for him. The ACC, outside of Clemson, you're not really getting to see, many top level rushers there. But I think this pick for me was more on potential, and also based off of the fact that I think a lot of these other guys are going to be gone by the time.
That part I very much agree with.
Washington picks, because I could definitely see, like with the amount of potential trades that there could be, I definitely could see somebody falling and then a team jumping ahead of them and taking a guy that maybe they like a little better. So I feel like this guy is going to fall to them, and they really need an offensive tackle to fill in. I also looked at them as there was another guy who I also had. I was debating on the pick, because they are, like I said, they're completely loaded on defense. But the one guy that I saw who was kind of in the range that might be there at this pick was Owusu Koramora out of Notre Dame, the linebacker. To me, I think he's probably the second best linebacker in the draft behind Parsons. But he's a much different. He's more of a today's modern NFL linebacker. I think he's like around 6'2", maybe 215. So he's a little on the smaller side. But this guy is so fast. And he runs he runs probably as fast as like a nickel corner maybe. He's great, and he's amazing in coverage. He's great as a blitzer off the edge, and the guy tackles everything. I didn't see, like, obviously highlight tape, should never see a missed tackle, but the guy had like no bad plays that I could see. So I was thinking that they could, if they were to take him, their defense would become that much more imposing. But I feel like, maybe I think the potential you need that lineman. So that's kind of why I chose Darrisaw, because I think they have to replace Trent Williams in some way. So I think you take a shot on Darrisaw and hope that he can transform into a high level left tackle. What is that? Did anybody else have any thoughts on Washington or the pick?
The only thing that I question that you said is if Ron Rivera is a good coach. I can't figure that out. He got to a Super Bowl, but I mean he did it with Cam Newton in a very 80s style offense. I think he's a great defensive coordinator. I don't know if he's a good head coach. So
wait, I never said he was a good coach. I said he loves big athletic quarterbacks.
Did he say?
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
He did say.
I think he's a good coach.
Good.
Not great.
Hold on. I did not say he's a good coach. I think he's a good coach.
All right. So for clarity here, like a good coach would be like average, but he's not a great coach. He's not an elite coach.
All you have to do is say he's good in the
okay.
NFC East, and you're good. He's a good coach in the NFC East.
You really nated that, Terry. Like, okay, so good is average in your eyes. So what is average? What's a good average word? Like subpar? Come on. What are you doing?
What kind of person do you think I am, kicking my feet on their couch? I don't remember kicking my feet on their couch. I kicked my feet on their couch.
All right, so now the jackass over here has officially said that he thinks he's a good coach. I don't know that I agree with you.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know. No,
Paul's pulling a Nate from last week when Nate was just like, he's trash. He's trash. Why is he trash, Nate? I don't know. He's just trash.
Hey, no. If you listen, I already gave you reasons. Then Jackass had to come back and say, no, I don't think he's good. By the way, I think he's good. No.
Just have to say for the NFC East, and then you're good.
Nope.
No, that's all right. I can own that one. That's fine. I'll take it.
Don't give him. Don't encourage him, Terry.
Brandon, shut up.
He's gonna get me on the adjectives. It's fine. Whatever.
You got
All
yourself on the adjectives.
All right, we got the last one, Terry.
Moving on. All right, so moving on to everybody's to most of our favorite team here. The Eagles finished 4-11-1.
Woo!
Picking at 12. Picking 12th overall. So where do I begin with them? Yeah, they have needs at pretty much every position outside of D tackle. So the options were multiple here. Overall, I mean, I think that the top two positions of need are cornerback and wide receiver. I had initially went with wide receiver based off of the awful production from last year, but as I looked a little longer into the whole thing, Darius Slay is basically their only corner on right now. I mean, there's the other guys that they have on the cornerback depth chart right now. I've never even heard of. So I did put the top need on there for them as a corner, but I definitely think that they could go multiple ways with their pick. Obviously, they already traded back, so I don't think they're trading back up at all. I do think that there is certainly possibility for them to move back, like we had talked about with all of the potential talent that might fall down the board. If it gets to 12 and, maybe some of the guys that they had targeted were not there, they could definitely drop back maybe a few picks, maybe pick up a pick later on. And I did have that thought that if they drop back, they get that extra maybe third round pick and move back up into the end of the first round and maybe grab another guy. So they would have two, but based on if they stay at 12, I had them taking J.C. Horn out of South Carolina, mostly just because I felt like Surtain was already going to be gone. I also felt that obviously Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts, I mean, that would be a dream scenario if any of those guys were to fall down the board and then kind of push back the Waddle or Devonta Smith. I would be thrilled with either of those two guys.
Do you guys think that Chase is going to drop it all since he didn't play this year?
I don't think so. I have him going to the Bengals at 5.
I don't know that he goes at 5. Where do you have him going, Brandon?
I've been watching because Terry was bringing it up, and I thought I would ask you guys about it a little bit because I know that you've watched all the Alabama games, and I know we talked about it a little bit last week. But I watched a ton of film on Waddle and Smith and a little bit on Chase. And the first time I watched Smith, I wasn't super impressed. But then the more I watched it, the more I really enjoyed what I saw. And that guy's got a lot of just football knowledge, and you can see it in the way that he runs his routes. Waddle, though, it's hard not to know that the Eagles have just been trying to replace Deshaun Jackson since we've had Deshaun Jackson. So
they tried to replace Deshaun Jackson with Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah,
that's true.
So I feel like Waddle would give them a bit of that for sure. He has that third level of speed where you can see him turn it on when he absolutely needs to. But I just don't know if he can stay healthy. But yeah, I feel like you can kind of say that a little bit with Smith as well, with him being as small as he is. Chase seems like a prototypical what you would want in physicality wise in all the categories. So I know, Paul, you've watched tons of tape on all those guys. It's tough for me to figure out if I was the Eagles at that spot, if I had to pick between Smith or Waddle, which one I might decide. It's kind of like an embarrassment of riches.
Yeah, I mean, the top 4, I don't know whether to classify Pitts as a tight end or a wide receiver, but if you include him in the wide receivers, the top 4 receivers this year are all really good, all have a ton of upside. So I don't think that they're gonna, unless they Cowboys this, they're gonna get somebody with a good amount of skill.
Well, that's refreshing to hear because I don't know. I still expect Howie to screw this up in some way, shape, or form. But what about for you?
I don't see how you screw up the 12th pick. As long as they keep the 12th pick,
I was going to say
And
trade down
quarterbacks
further,
legit.
maybe, but
I said I added myself. I added in a little caveat.
that's all right. So, Terry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder there, but for those wide receivers, like how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, I agree with Paul, but I would actually classify Pitts as a receiver because I think he's multiple in what he can do. If I had to rank them, I'd say Chase is 1, Pitts would be 2, Waddle would be 3, and Devontae Smith would be 4. But I would be thrilled with, well, obviously I'd be super thrilled with the top 2 guys, but Waddle or Smith, I mean, those guys dominated top level SEC defensive talent. I mean, well, Waddle was hurt last year, but what I was able to watch of him, I mean, that guy just has he has like Tyreek Hill type speed to me. Like he just has that like you said, that gear that he hits and he's just gone. But Devonta Smith is just super smooth, and he always just seems to find the right opening in the defense, and never drops anything. He's got great hands. He's got decent size, but he is definitely light, which is the one worry for him, is that he's going to be a little too small at the NFL level. But in a little bit of research that I did, and even the tape that I saw on him, I never saw anybody actually get a good press on him. Like he almost looked like a defensive lineman, like swatting the corner's hands away, getting into his routes. I mean, he was just so smooth, and then once he has the ball in his hand, he just seemed to always find these amazing lanes down the field, like just getting chunk yardage. So I would be thrilled with any of these guys. If they're still there, if one of these 4 is there at 12, they better not trade back.
Well, that's why I half expect them to pass over all of those guys and take whatever off the junk heap offensive linemen and try to build the lines out again, because that's where you've seen the Eagles go quite a bit in the first round, is offensive or defensive line. They very rarely go for playmakers. I mean, when's the last real, I don't want to say can't miss prospect coming out of college, but when have they really made a splash as far as a positional player of
Carson Wentz?
Yeah, okay, I'm okay. Point taken, but I'm talking non-quarterback. Let's, last year they could have had Justin Jefferson. They get Jalen Reagor. The way that they've picked and continue to bomb these drafts year in and year out leaves me I have no expectations from this other than where there's a will, there's a way, and they're going to find a way to screw it up.
Howie Roseman will find a way to screw this up.
and it's just a matter of how. It's not a matter of if. It's just a matter of how. How is he going to, pass up on somebody like, let's say Jamar Chase is there at 12, and I can just imagine the fan reaction. It'll be the same reaction I had last year watching Jalen Reagor get picked over Jefferson, of who and why did you just make, who's this guy and why did you just make this pick when you know that there's a guy on the board that can have an immediate impact, be an immediate player on your team. I mean, this team has, like Terry and Brandon, well, we all know, they've got more holes in this team than they have draft picks to fill them. So you can't go wrong with any position really. But I feel like if any of those receivers are there, I think you have to take them. There's no other choice for me. Is you have to make an impact. You have to.
Do you think that Justin Jefferson was that can't miss, that's like easily who they should have taken?
I don't want to say that he was can't miss. I want to say that if given the choice between Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor, I'm taking Jefferson all day long.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I'm not criticizing anything. I'm just curious where you thought Justin Jefferson would have ended up, because I mean he ended up slipping relatively far.
Yeah, I remember watching that draft, and I'm watching as the people are starting to come off the board, and Justin Jefferson's still there, and I'm thinking, oh my God, they're actually going to get the guy that they're targeting. Oh my gosh, this is actually going to be a good draft. Oh my gosh, they're going to actually finally get a player that has some impact and potential. And then they called Jalen Reagor's name, and my jaw dropped, and I'm just like, how? Why?
Speaking of drops, that's what you're going to see in your clips for the Eagles. I got tons of Jalen Reagor drops for you guys. And one of the other things that you're going to see is one of the things that I've heard is a big criticism for him is that when he runs his routes and he doesn't think the ball's coming to him, he quits on his routes. And you're going to see that in the clips as well. Basically, he quits on the route, the ball comes to him, and then he has to try to catch up to the ball, and he misses it. And that's kind of been his biggest knock on him at this point.
Yeah, they wanted him to be Tyreek Hill. He's not even. He can't even hold a candle to Tyreek Hill at this point.
I'll play optimist on this. I don't think the door's closed on Reagor yet. I think give him a little time, but I definitely agree that they completely screwed that pickup last year by not taking Justin Jefferson. I mean, if I remember correctly, I think he was like, some guys had him at like 2 or 3. And when the Eagles when Dallas took CeeDee Lamb and he's still on the board, you still have an opportunity at that stud receiver that you've been lacking forever. But instead, Howie Roseman thinks he's going to outsmart the NFL and he's going to draft a guy that's got a 3rd-round grade because he likes his raw talent. So as long as Howie's picking for us, I really have to temper my expectations on who we're going to pick because there's too many of those situations have come up with the Eagles in his tenure where it's like I think if I remember correctly, he was also the GM when they drafted Brandon Graham over Earl Thomas. Not that I dislike Brandon Graham by any means. It did take him a while to really, become a good pro.
You put some respect on that man's name.
I love him. But when we needed a guy that was to replace B-Doc, and Earl Thomas you trade up, and Earl Thomas is still on the board, and you draft a guy that not too many people really thought or knew about at that point. It's tough. It's really. And I just feel like that's what he thinks is he's the smartest guy in the room. Obviously, Brandon Graham has had a great career for us, and he made he probably made the best play in Eagles history.
Amen.
So I'm not. No hate there. I love BG. He's still doing it. He's making Pro Bowls in his 11th year. So it took him a little while.
That doesn't hurt either. So just
Personally,
to put
I think that's the worst name out there. I've never met a good one.
Well, you would, bud. So just to put a bow on all this, the JC Horn pick I think is a pretty good pick. You're going to see in the highlights for him, he's got a tenacious fight for the ball. He's got great hands. He's had multiple games with multiple interceptions. He does a great job stripping the ball from receivers, quarterbacks. He's the son of Joe Thorne. He's not afraid to get in there and get dirty. So I do feel like the Eagles have been struggling for a cornerback for a long time, trying to get Sidney Jones and other guys in here that have just not panned out for them over the years. And I feel like that Horn would be a good pick for them. I don't feel like that's going to be a nearly as much of a likelihood of a miss as Sidney Jones was.
No, and I agree. And that's, based on all the draft scenarios that I saw, that's why I think this guy's the pick. He's big. He's 6'1", 205. So he's a big corner, and the Eagles seem to like the big corners that are athletic, and he's definitely athletic. He's got tons of speed, and his game is still really developing to me. But from what I saw, he's got that kind of fluid, quick motion. He definitely mixes it up with the receivers at the line. Like, he's definitely physical. He gets his head back around. He seems to track the ball pretty well in the air. I just like the guy's man-to-man coverage skills, and that seems like always a trait that the Eagles are looking for. Is and I think he would be a great complement on the other side to Slay, because now you have 2 high-level corners that you can put out there and try and slow down some of these passing attacks, which we've have not been able to do in such a long time.
I was going to say that nothing that the Eagles could do would surprise me. And then I thought about it and I changed my mind, because what would actually surprise me is if they stay where they're at and they take an impact player. That's the only surprise, is if they do what everybody, would expect them to do with the people that are available at that pick, and not do something just completely, trying to outsmart everybody in the room kind of thing. So I'll be surprised if they get a player that we would want on the team.
And just to wrap up my thoughts on the Eagles with this, but there's one guy that I love in this draft, and it would fill a need that the Eagles have been lacking since Jeremiah Trotter. And if Micah Parsons was there at 12, I think that he would be like a no-brainer pick to be like that stud guy in the middle. Knowing Howie's track record, he hates linebackers, so he doesn't draft them at all, and he doesn't draft good ones. But I feel like he's a guy that would be another dream scenario to get, because I feel like he's got such ridiculous athletic ability, and he's so fast for a middle linebacker. He's an incredible blitzer, and the guy tackles everything, and he's just I would love to see the Eagles finally have that presence in the middle of the defense that they've been lacking forever. But that's just me. But I definitely I think that they're more than likely going with whoever the top corner is on the board.
So this will wrap up part one of this week's coverage of the Muffed Punt podcast. To say we got a little out of hand is an understatement. We didn't want to bring it to you all at once because it's going to take a little while to get everything together. So this is going to be part one, the NFC South and the NFC East. And coming to you in part two will be the NFC North and the NFC West. So make sure you stay tuned, hit that like button, and subscribe. And we'll be back in just a few days with the part two of this episode of the Muffed Punt podcast. Thank you.
Let's see if he can do that. And what happens on 2nd and 2 at the 26? My guy waves out. Just like Chicago. It's the Chicago nightmare all over again. Zeke waves out. Take me out, coach.
Oh, we ain't gonna talk about this.
Take me out. It's my turn. You told me it was my turn.
You can talk all that you want to, yell and scream. You lost.
It is my turn.
You lost the game.
It's my turn.
Take as long as you want. You still lost.